Hello, everyone, and here we are again. My name is Alina, and I'm representing Education USA Virtual. I'm so happy that there are so many of you today. I imagine that all of you are so excited about the topic of today's webinar, but I just want to remind you guys that Education USA Virtual has interesting webinars every month for you, and soon we're gonna update you on those that we're gonna have in October, and those are gonna be dedicated to sessions for graduate students. You can scan the QR code that we have on the screen, and you can see all the resources that we are offering. And you can find there, by the way, your nearest Education USA center. So if after today's session, you will have some questions about CSS Profile or about your application for your undergraduate degree, you should know that you can find on the website the nearest Education USA center and the advisor that will help you and will assist you for free during your application process. Okay, so I already said that I'm more than sure that you are excited for today's topic. You know our today's speaker because it's not the first time when he's presenting, and we love to have sessions with him because we always get the answer that the students want to get. Thank you, Matthew, for joining us today once more. And today we're gonna talk about CSS Profile. Yay! So, guys, many of you submitted your questions in advance. We're gonna try, and I told Matthew, okay, we're gonna do the presentations, and then we're gonna switch to the Q&A session. Can we have a bunch of questions? And I know that more of you are gonna submit them in the chat. So we're gonna answer those questions that are gonna be specifically referred to CSS Profile. So please make your best to describe that question very detailed so we can understand what to answer. And yes, and we're gonna just try to answer all of them. Matthew, the floor is yours. I'm gonna
Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks.
It's great to be here again, talking about one of my favorite things, which is the CSS profile. And the reason I love it is because when I was a student, I had some difficulties getting financial aid. It was confusing, it was complex, it was difficult. And so I'm happy that College Board, the organization that I work for, has come up with something that helps not only students get financial aid, but specifically international students get financial aid for universities in the United States. So that's what this is. And I'm going to briefly run through it so we can really prioritize, make sure we've got time for everybody's questions. So if we could please move to the next slide. I'm going to briefly talk about what is CSS Profile, how to get started, and walk you a little bit through how the actual process works. And then we'll have plenty of time for number 5 for questions. Next slide, please. So we're going to talk about what CSS Profile is, and we're definitely going to talk about it mainly from the perspective of international students, students that are not US citizens, students like you all. So the CSS Profile is a comprehensive financial aid application. It's used by about 300 colleges, universities, and scholarships in the United States to see if they're eligible for need-based aids. One of the great things is that you are able to look online before you even get started to see if the universities that you're interested in applying to accept applications for the CSS Profile. So you can actually apply to multiple universities at the same time, and I'll show you where you're able to see this. The other great thing for international students is that you are going to, and this is one of the biggest questions that we have, you are going to fill out the application using your local currency, whether that's Belarusian dollars, or Azerbaijani dollars, or Kazakh dollars. I'm sorry, I don't remember what the currency is for all those different countries, but you're going to put it in your local currency, and then the CSS Profile translates it into US dollars. So you don't have to worry about exchange rates, differences, things like that. We take care of it. And then we give you lots of opportunities to explain your unique circumstance and situation. So I know that a lot of people are going to have questions about things that are specific to them, but I'm going to show you exactly where on the CSS Profile you're able to explain the particularities of your life using the explanation provided. Next slide, please. You are going to be able to begin filling out the application for CSS Profile on October 1st, and that will be if you're applying to be in the United States the coming academic year. So for the 2026-2027 school year, that'll be available coming in just about 2 weeks. Next slide, please. It costs about $25 for the initial application and for one school. For every additional application, you can apply as many as you want, it's $16 extra. Just to give you an idea, you can do that with a credit card online. We'll take that from you. And one thing here, this last one, if your biological or adoptive parents, they don't live together in the same house, some universities may require a non-custodial profile. That is, like, if you had a mother that you don't live with full time, she's your biological mother, but she's not actually raising you in the house there, you can have her fill out a non-custodial parent application, and that'd be an additional $25. What is the CSS profile going to ask you for? Next slide, please. It basically breaks down into 5 things. We want to know the income, which is basically the money that your parents make in their jobs. Assets, which means the things that your parents own that have a monetary value, their house, their vehicles, jewelry, stocks, all kinds of things like that. They're going to want to know expenses, which means, are they paying for your food? Are they paying for your transportation? What is your rental price? Things like that. Household information, we're going to want to know about all of the members of your family. Do you have siblings? Do you have parents that aren't just your biological parent, mother and father? There are other different types of families. We want to know about that. Perhaps you live with a grandparent. Maybe your uncle is helping you pay for school. Those are all different options. And then lastly, and very important for you students outside of the United States, special circumstances, things that are unique to you that may impact your ability to pay for university. And we'll talk all about that. Next slide, please. I'll actually have you go by 2 slides more. We'll skip past this one in the interest of time. Just give it a second here. I want to show you all this slide, which is when you go on the CSS Profile website, on the search page, you can actually use the thing that's in the box right here in red, and you can select only those universities that are giving international aid to, giving financial aid to international students. So you can see here, Amherst College, Boston College, Barnard College, Baylor University. These are all places that do give financial aid to universities. So if you had your heart set on a university that's not on this list, then you're going to have to apply for financial aid separately from it. So get a good look at what the universities actually are that this is provided for before you get started and compile all this information to make sure that this is going to be relevant and helpful for you. Okay. Let's just quickly go through these next couple slides just to see where you go. You're going to go to csssprofile.org. That's the URL for this website. You can see it right here. And then you will see complete the application. On the next slide, you can see the instructions are going to be there for you. And then on the next slide after that, you'll be able to, I'm going to show you with a red circle right now exactly where you as a non-US student, ta-da, there it is, you as a non-US student can get information specific to your application that you may need for getting started. Okay. And you click on the next slide, you can actually see what this looks like. There's frequently asked questions for international students. We're going to get some of those answered today, but you can also get them answered here. So let's skip ahead a couple more slides to slide 16, where it says application sign in. Great. So you will need to sign in with your College Board account. This is like your student account that you used if you've taken an AP course or SAT test. This is where you're going to want to go, and you're going to want to do your application in English, using like the Roman numerals and things like that. And I'm going to take you to the next page just so you can see a little bit here what it starts looking like, the type of information that we're going to be asking you. We want your full name. We want your preferred first name. There we go. And then on the next slide, you can see we're going to ask you about your citizenship, which will be important for you. Most of us are not going to be US citizens. On the next slide, you can see which country do your parents live, and then very importantly, here on the right, which currency are you going to be using to make your application? So if you live in Belarus, for example, you are going to want to say that you are going to be making your application in Belarusian rubles. If you live in the Ukraine, you're going to want to say that you are applying with Ukrainian hryvnia. Hryvnia, I think that's what that is, et cetera, et cetera. You're going to put your local currency. We will translate that currency into US dollars. This is really helpful because sometimes the value between these two currencies is changing. And so this is going to help us keep the most accurate and up-to-date idea of how much the money that you're going to be putting in your application is worth in US dollars. Okay. Let's go a couple more slides ahead. So everybody has unique families. Not everybody lives with their biological mother and father. If your parents are separated, divorced, they were never married, they're not living together, we may have you, one more slide, please, fill out 2 CSS profile applications. One will be for your custodial parent, which is defined as the parent that provides the most financial support. And then the other application, which we refer to as the non-custodial application, will be for your other biological or adoptive parents. So we want to get an idea of basically who your main parents are, but then the most important thing is which parent is actually helping you with your expenses, like who pays for your school, whose house do you live at, who's supporting you, et cetera, et cetera. So if you see on the next slide here, you can see where we're going to be asking for this. And we're going to say parent 1 and parent 2. And you shouldn't think of parent 1 and parent 2 as just as your biological mother and father. These are basically the 2 most important people, your step parents, your legal guardians, et cetera, et cetera. And you can see here on the right, we're asking, when you say your number 1 parent, is this a mother, father, stepfather, stepmother, legal guardian, other? Some people live with a grandparent. We give you all different types of options here, but you basically want to put in the 2 most important people who contribute financially to your life, because at the end of the day, what this application is who is supporting you financially, so we can understand how much money they have, how much money they don't have, and how much financial aid you need. Okay, next slide. So, and then you're going to give us the status of who these people are. Are they married? Are they divorced? Are they living together, et cetera, et cetera. So that's gonna give us an idea about your family, who they all are. And then if we could skip aside, I think I wanna have us do like 3 slides to slide 26. This is where you're then gonna wanna after you've told us who your parents are and like what your family situation is, the next thing we're gonna wanna know is basically their income, which means the money that they make at their job. And the way that you're going to be able to do that is to basically show, yes, perfect, thank you, is going to show a tax return. This might not be the same thing in every single country. In the US, we've got a very specific return called a 1040. You're not going to have that in Armenia or Kyrgyzstan. It's going to be something different, but usually a government document that shows that can prove how much money your parents made at their job. That's what we want you to fill in here. You're going to let us know which it's going to be under here under other non-US tax return. And then you'll have an opportunity at the end of the application to actually upload that document proving how much money your parents made at their jobs, which is, of course, is important for us to know so we can know how much money they're able to support you with. Okay, we're going to skip ahead a few more slides so I can make sure I'm covering the most important parts here in the shortest amount of time. Okay, a bunch of more questions about your income here. Yes, so then the next question here you're going to see is about net income from rental real estate royalties. Basically, what you guys need to be prepared for is any money of anything of value that your parents have, either from their jobs, from things they own, from rental properties, from a farm, from a small business. You need to have all of that, the number there in your local currency to let us know a complete picture of your parent and by extension, your financial situation. On the next slide, you can see we're going to ask about your housing. Do you own a home? Do you rent a home? Do you live with someone else? A home is a very, very important, next slide, is a very, very important part of your financial life. So we need to know that. Which you can see here. So we're going to want to know your income from work, your income from other things. Next slide, please. Then we're going to ask about assets, which is, next slide, please, which is, again, if you own stocks, if you own a restaurant, if you own a bunch of horses for some reason, that's also an asset. We'd want you to list that, et cetera, et cetera. And this is where you would do that. On the next slide, you can see if you're going to be receiving any scholarship from your government to attend university in the United States. You'd want to list that here. You'd also want to know if you have any other scholarships, grants, tuition benefits. If anyone else is helping you pay for university in the United States, you're going to want to list that here. On the next slide, we're going to want to know basically some other things, basically what it's going to cost you when you get to the United States. And one of the most important things is who is going to pay for transportation? Because as I say every time we do this talk, basically almost anywhere that you're going to study in the United States, unfortunately, you're going to kind of need a car because we're a very car focused country. And so we want to know like who is going to be paying for your car when you get here. Strange question, but it's something we ask on the application. And then just a couple more slides here. We're going to get to the most important slide of all. Hopefully that's going to answer most of your questions in advance. And that is, if there is something about your financial life that has happened, maybe a parent of yours went bankrupt, maybe there was conflict, civil conflict in the area, sorry, one slide back. Conflict in the area that you live in. Maybe there was an economic crash and the currency was devalued. Maybe your mother won the lottery. Anything special or unique to your life that is not captured or reflected in those questions that we asked you before, the answer, you're going to put it right here under special circumstances. This is basically an essay where you can describe to and let the people at the at financial aid office at the universities know what they don't already know based on the questions that you have. So I'm happy to answer a lot of questions that students are going to have, but most of the time, the answer is going to be put it in this little essay here, special circumstances. And I would say most people at universities in the United States, most people in the United States in general, don't have a great idea about what's going on in different countries. So even if you think that somebody knows about an earthquake that happened, or I'm trying to think of something else here, or a real estate bust or something here. Anything that you think would be helpful context for the financial aid office to know, then you're going to want to put it here in this special circumstances box. Okay. And then on the next slide, you're going to say that you've read everything and you've answered everything to the best of your ability. You want to do your best to answer truthfully. You want to give as much information as possible. There'll be certain things that you're not 1000% positive sure on that you've answered correctly, but let me tell you, it's about doing your best. And you are not going to go to jail if you are off by a couple dollars on this application. This is the best, that's what we say, best faith attempt to give a complete picture of your financial life for universities in the United States, and you're going to say that you have done your best that you could to be as truthful and as open and as exhaustive of these things as possible, and that's where you'll sign this. And then on the next slide, you can see here where you will be able to make a correction if you have any errors. It'll also be where you can pay for this application using a credit or debit card. Okay. And then we have special numbers here on this next slide. And this will be the last slide. If you have any questions, there is somebody that you can call. Sorry, one more slide. As international students, it's this 212 number for any specific questions that you have. But hopefully in the next few minutes, now that my presentation is done, running through the CSS profile, I can answer a lot of questions that you have right now.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Matthew. I really hope that everyone had the time to
Mhm.
review the presentation. But guys, this is going to be a recording, so you can rewatch the presentation once more and just follow every slide that Matthew was talking about. So now we're going to talk about the questions that you have submitted in advance, and if there are some of the answers that are not sufficient for you, please submit your questions in the chat. Okay, so one of the first one was how to get a CSS profile waiver and where to find information on whether it's accepted by a certain university or not.
Usually a fee waiver is going to be provided by a university or a scholarship program. And we work with several different universities that we disperse the waivers from. College Board doesn't give them out directly. You have to tell me, Alina, I'm not sure if because I know that we disperse waivers for the SAT test. We may also provide waivers for the CSS profile for the Education USA. But that'd be the best place to get them. But there's not like a place that you can apply directly online, usually getting it from another institution or organization.
Okay, the next one. What documents should international students prepare in advance to make the CSS profile process easier?
So everybody has different documents in their country, but the number one most important document, I think, is going to be the document that shows the taxes that your parents pay on the income they make. So in the United States, basically, we pay a thing called income tax, which is basically the money that you make. Some of that goes from your job, some of that goes to the government. That's also a really good way to know, to be able to show to anyone who's asking how much money you make, because the government is like basically confirming that that's the amount of money that you make. So if you pay some sort of tax, or you need to show to the government for any reason that what your parents make at their job, that's going to be the most important document that we see to prove what your parents' income. Because for most people, the money that you make at a job is the most money that you have. We will also see bank statements for any assets, stocks, things that you have like that. If you're asking for money from a university, you basically have to show them everything that you have in your financial life. So you have to be very open about that. So sharing honestly all the information that's in a bank account, that's in a stocks, things like that, assets that you have, ownership of a restaurant, any document that proves the existence of these financial things is a document that you're going to want to prepare, and it's different by each country.
And can we specify for what period they need to provide this tax return document? Should it be for previous year or for previous 2 years, or?
I think for the most recent previous year.
Okay.
That's the best way to think about it, yeah.
Thank you. The next question, and I think you kind of answered that. Does monetary gifts from friends, let's say on a birthday, count as a household income?
I don't know about you, but on my birthday, people aren't giving me more than like $50. I wouldn't worry too much about $50. But if someone's giving you like $1,000, $10,000, then you might want to actually start thinking about including that. And I don't really think you would necessarily need to have a document proving that. Like you don't need a receipt from your friend or something like that, but you would want to include that like in the total of what your basically savings account is, if that makes sense.
Yes, I think they mean here their grandparents. They are very, yes, they are very kind here in our region.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Less than like $1,000, I really wouldn't worry about it. I would just add it to like what you have as your like total like savings.
Okay. The next one, is it appropriate for US citizens who live abroad to also complete the CSS profile?
You certainly can. It's basically for U.S. Universities for U.S. citizens as well as people from other places. The thing that you, as a U.S. citizen, it's probably more valuable for you to do would be to fill out the FAFSA, because that applies to more universities than perhaps the CSS profile, which only does it for about 300.
Okay, thank you. The next questions. Did any of the application processes change in the past year? I guess in the CSS profile.
Oh, for CSS Profile? No, it's very, very similar. There have not been very many updates. The most updates are basically going to be like the differences between currencies and countries, but again, you're going to be putting it um, in your own currency, and so we'll translate that for you automatically.
The next one, is CSS Profile one-time paid or requires to be paid each time?
So each additional university that you add is going to be more of a price, and we send that application one time. If the following year you want to submit another CSS profile, that would be like an additional payment. So it's basically every time that we send a university this profile, every single university, that would be something that you would need to pay for.
Great, thank you. The next question, what kind of docs do I need to prepare and translate in English?
Again, that would be most importantly something proving the income of your parents, and you would definitely want that in English, and you'd want that uploaded. Bank statements showing your savings, your assets, basically like the title for your house if you own it. That'd be something else would be helpful and important to have. Any document that shows or proves the existence of like a major financial asset or income would be something that you'd want to have. You don't want like a receipt. Like if your grandparent gave you $100 for your birthday, you don't need to have financial documentation for that. You would just put that in the total. I would kind of do your best to think about the major things in your life, and you don't need to have a receipt for absolutely every last thing.
And I'm just wondering, does that need to be notarized? I mean, or is it just sufficient to be translated in English?
I could just translate it into English. I wouldn't worry too much about it being notarized because a lot of it is actually just going to be the numbers.
Great. Good to know. Then the next question, what should international students do in order to maximize their financial aid offer from unis? Is there something they can do in CSS Profile specifically for that?
You really there's nothing that you can do to boost your chances. What you need, that the best way to make your chances, to do well for your chances is to be honest, to be as honest and transparent as possible about everything that it is that you have. So if you, what is it I'm trying to say? There's not really any way to go around it. It's all about being as open as possible. And if you can just be as truthful and as clear as you can, that's your best chance to actually do well and get money to be able to go to school in the United States.
Great. The next question, how are special circumstances best communicated and documented? Because you pointed out on this, and maybe it's good to know how to explain that better in 200 characters, because there's a limit.
Yeah, there is a limit. I would not be trying to put on any like specific document. I would be trying to be very as general as possible. Like in Syria, we had a major civil war, and it caused all kinds of stress. And this has made obtaining documents very, very difficult, as there was no longer like the central government fell. So you like explain something like that, or there's been a change in our currency has been devalued like 500%, and we've had to try to buy stocks in other countries to make it more stable. And then so that's why I'm also including things that like a bank account from like France or something like that. Like anything that helps to explain those kinds of circumstances will help us help them get a better sense of it. Anytime that there's not something you just have a receipt for.
Great, thank you. The next question, which is a longer one. If my parents are separated, they were never married, how should I indicate it in the CSS? I do not have a contact and do not receive financial aid from my father. Does my mom need to provide some sort of evidence? We are from Kazakhstan.
Yeah, your mother's going to be the main person to fill out the application. If you don't have if you have no way of contacting your father that you weren't married to, you don't have an email address from him, like you're completely out of contact with them, in that case, I would put in the special circumstances, I have a biological father, but I have no way of contacting him. I wasn't able to get him to sign a non-custodial parent application. That's what I would do.
Great. Thank you. The next one, is there any difference in writing CSS profile if we are applying to need blind or need aware universities?
Yeah, that'll basically just be a little bit of a difference in like how much money you can expect to get. It's hard to know exactly. It'll just give you a better sense of like what your chances are to get a reward from them, but that's not going to change how you would apply for the CSS profile, if that makes
Okay,
sense.
good to know. Yes, yes, that totally makes sense. Is CSS profile right all the time? I'm not sure it shows exact numbers, or is it approximately?
Approximately, I think would be the best thing. Like I said, you're doing your best to give an overall general picture of how things are working. But sometimes you can, there's only so much that you can do, and like every single cent might not line up, but be better if that you were $100 off, but you've provided as much information as you can, than for you like not to apply at all because you're worried that you're going to be a couple dollars off.
Good. The next question, in case of non-USA applicants, what documents get me submitted instead of a tax declaration? I think you've given already some
Yeah,
options.
that really depends on what kind of tax documents your country offers. Sometimes maybe they don't even have anything like that, and you maybe want to put like upload a document that says you might want to use a bank account instead that like shows monthly deposits of your parents' income, just to give us some proof or idea that your parents are making that amount of money as they say they are.
Yeah. The bank statements, I think, are the accurate information in this case.
Yeah, that'd be the best.
Okay, the next question, does each university have a different deadline for provision of CSS profile?
Yeah, so each university, if you go on their website, they will say when their their financial aid application is due. And so you basically would want to have your CSS profile submitted before then.
Thank you. The next one, I heard some advices to hide incomes and properties in order to get more aid. What do you think regarding this?
That is bad advice. If you did that and they found out, you could be kicked out of college, or you could you could have already started and it be like not allowed to be there. So I would always be answer honestly, because you don't want anything to happen to you once you've gotten started at the university.
Thank you. What if my parents' income isn't registered officially?
I would still include it and I'd still talk about it, and you may want to put in your special circumstances just an explanation of why you don't have like an official way to recognize it.
Good. The next question, is full need CSS profile admission more probable at a 30-50 need aware school or a 5-7% need blind school?
I don't know the answer to that question. That's a difficult one. Let me see. I don't know. That's a great question. I'm not exactly sure.
I also think that's more about the probability, and you cannot really guarantee that you'll get it there or somewhere else. So yeah,
Yeah, I
maybe
think that's
some more
right.
explanation on the question itself, that's going to be helpful, because maybe you meant something else than we are supposing here.
I think that's right.
Okay. Then the last question that we have from the people who questioned us in advance, but if my parents don't file a tax return not required by government, nor they work for wage monthly salary, but are self-employed and only proof that I have is bank statements and property documents, what should I do to fill out IDOC and CSS profile? And I think we kind of discussed that but yes, we can just repeat that once more.
Yeah.
In case if parents are not filing the tax return document.
Yeah, if they don't have any income, you're probably going to want to explain that too, because then how are you living in a house and eating food? Like, where is the money coming from for you to basically have your for you to survive in life? So it should make sense. Like, if there's something coming from somewhere. You can't just put that there's nothing happening, because then otherwise that, like, how are you surviving?
I agree. Makes sense. Thank you. Okay, so now we're going to answer the questions that you guys submitted in the chat. And some of them actually have been answered, I think, by Matthew, but I will just put them on the screen so you will not be upset. Is CSS required for all countries and not only USA, Hong Kong, Europe, and etc.?
It's not required, but it's just a helpful tool for you if you do want to apply to universities in the United States. It only works for the United States because those are the countries, those are the universities that have signed up to be part of the program. If you wanted to apply for financial aid in countries that were in the United States, there may be other systems, there may be other scholarship programs, but this is just meant to be a way for any university that you want to apply for in the United States. A lot of them are covered by this program, so you only have to apply once rather than making applications to every single separate school that you may be applying for.
Good, thank you. The next one, will it be a problem if my email in College Board and Common App is different?
No, that's totally fine.
The next question, can completing the CSS profile early improve your aid chances at priority deadline schools?
If you are applying priority, then you definitely want to have your financial aid application in when it is that they ask for, which is definitely going to be early. So that will be an advantage to you. You want to make sure that your CSS profile is submitting it for the earliest deadline of all the universities that you're applying to.
Thank you. The next question, are there common mistakes families make on the CSS profile that lead to under-awarding of aid? That's a good one.
That is a good question.
Not filling it accurately, yeah. I suppose. Right.
I think not taking advantage of the special circumstances box to really explain what's going on. So a lot of countries have, crazy things that are going on, and maybe that doesn't necessarily like affect what looks there on a page, but it's been a lot of extra work and stress for you to keep your life together. You had to do a lot more work to be able to get the money it is that you have. It may be, maybe you have, let's say, like, you live in Lebanon and you have $250,000 in a bank account, but you can't get it out because there's all kinds of strange restrictions on being able to take money out. So even though it technically exists, it's actually not available to you. That's something that you'd want to describe and make sure that you don't assume that a university is already going to know that or understand that. You want to explain as much as you can to help them understand what's going on, so that they can take that into account when they're giving you the financial aid.
Thank you. The next question, do some CSS Profile schools offer aid to international students differently? I don't know.
They would than American students, but they are interested in having international students. They are very interested in having a diverse set of students from different places. The financial aid situation is going to be considered differently from your application in general. I believe most universities that they're looking at especially if they're need line, as they're looking at your application, they're not saying, they're just deciding how much money would be fair to give you to make it more fair for you to come to the United States. It's not about necessarily which country it is that you're coming from. It's kind of that would be more of the general admission to the university that they would be thinking about those things.
Yeah, totally agree. Okay, the next one. My parents' income doesn't show on cards as they get cash for it. What is the process for it? How they can prove that? The income, I suppose.
If there's any document that's like a receipt for the cash they get in income, if they're paid in cash, maybe even the company that they work for could write basically a receipt or some sort of document proving that they actually pay them in cash. If there's no document doing that, they should at least say how much that cash is, and that should be recorded in the actual income amount. And then I would put in the special explanation, I'm paid in cash and I have no document proving what the actual amount is.
Thank you. The next question, can students go back and edit the CSS profile after submitting it if they realize they made a mistake?
Yeah, it does allow you to make one change after everything has been done there. You'll see that in I showed that in one of the slides. There is an opportunity to make some last minute changes.
And even after submitting it, right? So
yeah, you'll also be able to do that one time.
Okay. The next question, are international students expected to submit translated and converted currency values, or does the system handle that? I think you said
the system handles all of it. So always put it in your local currency, and then they'll do the most up-to-date one.
The next question, who should students contact at a college for questions about CSS profile errors or concerns, financial aid office or admissions?
Their financial aid office.
That's a good one. Then the next one, what's the best way to write a financial appeal or explain special circumstances to CSS profile schools? And I think you answered this one.
That would be in there.
The next one, can we apply to CSS and universities on financial aid at the same time? Are they different or the same?
I'm sorry, can you say it again? Someone was
The
talking.
system. Can we apply to CSS profile and universities' own financial aid system?
Yeah, so you could use the CSS profile for the universities that accept it, but then if there's also universities that you want to apply to that don't participate in the CSS profile, then you would just do a separate application.
Okay, thank you. The next question, just being curious, how do you spot those who are lying about their actual income? What is happening to them? I guess you need to ask the financial office.
You would need to ask the financial office. They probably have different ways of being able to recognize that or to like check on those things. But basically, we're sharing and communicating what this what the stuff that you're giving us, but they're the ultimate ones who are deciding whether or not to accept it, whether it's true, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, thank you. The next one, can submitting CSS profile too late reduce a student's chances of getting institutional aid, even if they qualify?
If it is past the admissions deadlines for that university, then it's going to not only be a disadvantage to you, it's not going to be useful to you at all.
Yeah.
Because you got to submit by the date.
Like everything that has a deadline, like the application itself.
That's right.
Okay, the next one. Does it mean if the college is in the list of participating institution, it will cover tuition, living expenses, etc., or it depends on the college?
It really depends on the college. And again, like the vast majority of international students, they're not getting a full ride. They're getting some money to help them. I think like on average, it's something like 11 or 15%. So, you know, it'd be very much kind of like winning the lottery to get a full ride. So you should be really honest, and even just look at, you can actually see on the on our website, basically universities will share how much money they grant to international students in general, as like overall, and then how much they give on average to each international student. And that should give you a good idea, like in general, how much you're hoping to actually receive from them. But of course, it depends on student by student. And sometimes there's some absolutely incredible students that they know how amazing they are, and they're going to want them to come, and they would give them a full ride. But it really depends.
Thank you. The next question, can I translate documents by myself?
You can. It'd be, of course, be better if it was notarized, but it'd be better that you translate it yourself than for you to not have it translated at all.
Because we spoke about notarizing fact, and you said that it's not very, very, very important. But in case if they are translating them, should there be maybe the signature of the translator or something like that? Does it give more?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think that's a good. I think that's a good idea. Yeah,
that's the best one. Okay. The next question. I have applied for an Webster University some years back, but I didn't complete my studies. I have paid for a year. Is it possible to apply once again and continue with my payments that I gave 5 years ago?
You would definitely want to talk to Webster University. You may still have some credits with them. They may have expired. I'm not exactly sure what their their policy would be. In terms of financial aid, they're gonna reevaluate you all over again. Basically, universities reevaluate your financial situation every single year when they're giving rewards packages, unless they gave you something for the entire time. And even if they had given you a full ride when you first came in, because it's been so long, they would definitely want to be able to start over, and you would have to reapply.
Thank you. The next question, does the amount of children in my family count as a special circumstance?
Definitely. You're going to list all of your siblings because they are also using the money that your parents are earning to house them, to clothe them, to feed them. So we actually will list on the application exactly how many siblings you have.
And the last one we have in the chat, difference between CSS, FAFSA, ISCAA.
I'm not too familiar. Maybe you know what ISCAA is, but CSS Profile is something that CSS Profile is something that College Board makes that that international students are also able to use. FAFSA is a financial aid application that only U.S. citizens can use.
That's kind of everything we also know about. About the last one, yes, I also haven't heard a lot. We kind of give more consultation on CSS Profile specifically.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we finished we're done with all the questions. We did great. I don't know, guys, if we have answered everything that you have asked, but I suppose yes, because we kind of marked everything. And I really hope that you will use the advice and the answers that Matthew shared with us. Thank you, Matthew, so much for your time. And thank
always
you so
a pleasure.
much for your expertise. That's always very, very helpful. And for those who didn't have the time to watch us today, you have the recording and you can go back and review once again the answers. So yes, I wish you everyone good luck. Because 1st of October is coming soon, and you should start filling out your applications, especially if you're applying for an early action deadline or something like that, or an early decision. So yeah, good luck with those. Thank you so much for submitting your questions. That means that those are very useful for you, and you get the answer that you are expecting. And yes, subscribe for all the events that we have for the end of this month. Next week, we're going to have our last webinar for September. So we're going to appreciate if you can also submit your question in advance. I will use the opportunity to answer the last question that we have received here. What if my parent is self-employed or unemployed at all? What document can be provided?
Whatever document you can have that would prove it or show it. Bank account, the license from the business that they run themselves. Anything that you can is going to help your case.
Or use the special circumstances spot. I mean, I think that's a lifesaver, guys. So in case if you cannot prove all the incomes that your parents have, you can explain that in special circumstances.
Agreed.
Great. Thank you. So we are definitely done here. Thank you guys once more. And I wish you everyone a great day. Thank you, Matthew.
Best of luck. Bye, everybody.
Bye.